Hi folks, welcome back to Bolo Musings. I'm glad you're returning for our second video. Before we get started on today's topic, I thought I would say that we had some requests for from some people to cover our bios. So let's start with that. So Drew, what are your credentials?
Well, anyway, let me introduce myself. My name is Dru Ann, and I'm the creator and founder of Dru's Book Musing, where the day in the life and the get to know you segments are prominently featured on my blog. I also have cover reveals, book releases, reviews, and a various assortment of content that you'll find on my blog. I'm an avid reader who quilts, loves watching disaster sci-fi movies, loves to travel, and is happy to be in my element within the community, the mystery community. I was awarded the Mystery Writers of America Raven Award in 2017 and was nominated for an Anthony Award in 2018 and 2015. I'm a member of Sisters in Crime and Mystery Writers of America, and next year I will be the Malice Domestic Fan Guest of Honor held in Bethesda, Maryland. Chris?
Oh, that's pretty good. I'm Kristopher Zagorski. I'm the founder and sole reviewer at Bolo Books review blog. I received the MWA Raven Award the year after Drew in 2018 and was also nominated for the Anthony Award for Best Nonfiction Online Content in 2018 as well. I have a regular column in Deadly Pleasures magazine that syndicates much of my content from the blog, not all of it, but much of it. And my reviews have also appeared in Crime Spring magazine, Mystery Readers International, and on the Shots UK blog. I have a regular column also in Elderly Queen Mystery Magazine that's unrelated to my reviews. In that column, I talk about websites and online resources that are of interest to crime fiction readers and writers, so that's fun. And then I'm the secretary on the board of Malice Domestic, and I will be the Left Coast Crime Fan Guest of Honor in Albuquerque, New Mexico next year.
Yay! All right, okay, so in this session, we're going to talk about 6 of our favorite books that we've read in the first half of the year. Mine's, because I'm a cozy reader, most of the books that I've selected are series. So I'm going to keep saying that I like to be on the ground floor of, and you'll see why, because most of the books that I've selected are the first book in a series. So the first one on my list is Here Comes the Body by Maria Di Rico, and it's the first book in the Catering Hall series, which takes place in Astoria, Queens, New York. I know that the author's name is also Ellen Byron, and she had told me a little bit about this book when she was still in that thinking stage. And I knew when it was coming out that I wanted to read it. And the reason why I wanted to read it was because I knew that it was going to be a true New York City book. And by that I mean she mentions the subway. Deterring, basically, if you're a New Yorker, your rite of passage is taking that subway by yourself for the first time. So she mentions that in a book, which I was like, awesome. And she also talks about the character, also talks about going various places in the city, from Manhattan to Brooklyn to Queens. And she was mentioning a couple of sites. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know where that's at. Oh, I know that building. So that made that book so personal to me. So I'm like, literally, I fell in love with that book. And I wrote like a little snippet, and I just wanted to read this little snippet. And it's really about the character whose name is Mia. And I wrote, Mia is a strong, determined, and likable protagonist who is surrounded by a quirky cast of characters that includes Anana, which is her grandmother, her dad, and Cammie, who is her best friend. This book is published by Kensington Books, and the second book comes out next February and is titled Long Island Iced Tea, which yes, Sunday, I did the cover reveal. So that's the book, the first book.
My first choice came out back in January. It's called The Missing American by Quay Querty. Gordon Tilson has started an internet relationship with this woman in Africa. He's infatuated by her and eventually decides to go and visit her. Upon arriving in Ghana, Africa, he goes missing, and eventually it's his son who must come over to the continent to try to figure out what happened to his father. Private investigator Emma DeJohn is on the case in Ghana, and she's also having troubles with her career, and she's just started working as a private investigator. So she's hoping that this will be a case that will help solidify her role in that. What I liked about the book was that we all get those calls from the people from overseas that are trying to scam us into something. And this book looked at scams from the Sakawa boys, which is an interesting type of scam that involves internet fraud and then also includes religious practices in the native country. So it was fascinating to learn about that. And I thought that Quay did a great job of exposing the truth of these things in a way that does never attempt to justify or legitimize them, but also lets us see their side of the story and gives empathy for what's going on in the countries that are causing these people to perpetrate these scams. It was published by Zoho Press, and it's the first in a series, so we should see a second in that series coming again next year. So looking forward to that.
The next book that I'm going to talk about, I'm a visual person, so I sometimes will gravitate towards a book by looking at the cover. And this book, I saw the cover and I was like, okay, I'm going to read this book. It's A Bad Day for Sunshine by Dorinda Jones. It's the first book in the Sunshine the Cram series. And the backstory is that I've seen books by Dorinda, and I know she writes paranormal, more heavy. I am not a fan of heavy paranormal, but I heard that she was going to write this mystery book that was more traditional, more not cozy, but more traditional. And I read the synopsis and I'm like, okay, I got to read this book. This book is awesome. And it really was, it was a good plot, had a good plot, a good engaging dialogue, and quirky cast of characters. Yeah, I like quirky cast of characters, not wacko weird quirky cast of characters, but quirky cast of characters, which includes the main protagonist, and she has this daughter that is mature beyond her years, and with the both of them, they bounce off each other, and it makes it a more realistic book. So I really fell in love with this book, and that was part of my review snippet. Was I'm so in love with this group of eccentrically quirky characters that I can't wait for the second book in this series. It's published by St. Martin's Press, and the next book comes out in April of 2021, and the title is A Good Day for a Chardonnay. Isn't that awesome?
Dorinda does humor really well, so that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
My next choice is The Lucky One by Lori Raider Day. I've been a fan of Lori Raider Day since her debut novel, The Black Hour, and all of her books are character-centric. So that's not always to everybody's taste, and I'm here to say that if you're looking for a more propulsive plot, her fifth book, The Lucky One, marries great characterization with a plot that keeps moving. It's really good. In the book, Alice was kidnapped as a child, but she's one of the lucky ones who actually is rescued, and she grows up to want to help other people who are in bad situations. So she spends her days trolling the Doe Pages website, looking for cases and clues that she might be able to help with. One day she sees the face of her kidnapper on the website, but before she can do anything about it, that reporting listing disappears. So she spends some time trying to figure out what's going on there. Meanwhile, through the Doe Pages, Alice also meets Marilee Cruz, who is our second protagonist and gets her own sections in the story where she's telling about her relation, her growing up with her mother and all the men that were through the house. And she's looking for some answers as well, and the Doe Pages may hold those answers for them, and Alice may be able to help her find them. So the two of them join together. But what's interesting about the book, many things are interesting about the book, but one of the interesting things is that the way the story goes is not how you expect it's going to go when you start out. You think you know exactly where Laurie's going to take you, and you never do in any of her books, especially in The Lucky One. This book was published by William Morrow.
The next book on my list is Hot Hid from Our Eyes by Julia Spencer Fleming. And this is the 9th book in her Claire Ferguson, Russ Van Alstyne series. Now, I've known Julia for a few years now, and I don't know why I've never read her books, but I never read her books. I don't know why. So, and I know that this book was a long time in coming, and there was so much buzz about this book. And it was like, okay, you know what? I have to step out of my comfort zone, and I need to pick up this book and see what this buzz was. And all I have to say is, thank God I did. Oh my God, I fell in love with this book. I fell in love with the characters. It was awesome. She just knows how to tell a story that really resonates with you. And it was like, oh my gosh, there's nothing I could say about this book. It was really good. The one thing I noticed was, and I wrote this snippet, was the art of planting red herrings. Julia is perfect at that, because the more I read, the more the directions changed. And when it all came together, the one missing piece created a finished puzzle. Yeah, that's what her book did. It's published by Minotaur Books. And the next book in the series, I think is the title, but I'm not 100% sure if it's firm, is called At Midnight Comes the Cry, and that releases in 2021.
My third choice is The Sea of Lost Girls by Carol Goodman. Carol Goodman is one of my favorite authors. She's always consistent. I know when I pick up a Carol Goodman book that I'm going to love it. I know I'm going to be wrapped up in it for the next couple days, maybe even one day if I have all day to read it. She's just that good and always, always consistent. She's known for writing about settings that are isolated and mysterious, which I love, and it gives this gothic feel that she's become known for. And boarding schools are a recurring motif that occurs in several of her books, many of them probably. And I love a boarding school story. So that's why I first started reading her, and I've been reading her ever since. In my review, I said that she's sort of like if you took Mary Higgins Clark and Victoria Holt and the Bronte sisters and Hans Christian Andersen and put them all together, you'd get something like Carol Goodman. So that gives you an idea of what it is. In The Sea of Lost Girls, Tess Henshaw works as an English teacher at the Haywood School, and her husband is the departmental supervisor, and her son attends the school. One night she gets a call in the middle of the night with her son in panic, and he says, please meet me at the secret place. So she goes there and finds him, and it turns out that his girlfriend, Lila Zeller, has broken up with him. So she takes him home and tries to console him as she would, as any mother would her child. It isn't until the next morning when she finds out that Lila's body has been discovered near the secret place that she begins to worry that maybe there's something else going on here. Lila had been working on a research project about the Maiden Stones, which is a location where legend has it that many girls have gone missing over the years, and it's not far from the school. So Tess must figure out if this missing case is tied to those missing cases or if there's something else going on, especially with her son. And as if that isn't enough, then she has a witch hunt coming to her door after herself about something from her past that she tried to keep a secret. So it's all wrapped up and keeps you reading, and it's really good. And it came out in paperback from William Morrow Paperback.
The next book, this is another first in the series book, and it's called A Spell for Trouble by Esme Addison. And it's the first book in the Enchanted Bay series. Yeah, and again, first book in the series, I'm going for it. I met the author via another author at a convention, and then I was sitting at a table, and the author came up to me, and she was like, "Hey, hi," she told me her name, and this is a pseudonym, so she told me her name, and I was like, "Oh yeah, so and so told me about you," and she goes, "Yeah, well, I'm writing this book, and I really would like you to read this." I said, "Sure, no problem." And again, all I could say is, wow, I was really, really impressed with the book and what it was all about. Now, this book is a paranormal, but it's light, real small. And it was really good. I call it special skills that these characters have. She didn't make it a big deal of it. She made it like it was there, but just not front and center. And it was such a fun book. I had a really great time reading this book. And again, this one boasts another set of quirky characters. So you get the drift with what I like. Engaging dialogue and a small town atmosphere. This book is published by Crooked Lane Books. The author is working on the second book. It doesn't have a title yet. We don't know when it's going to come out, but a second book is coming out.
My next selection is a little different. It's The Boy Detective in the Summer of '74 and Other Tales of Suspense by Art Taylor. You need only to look at a list of award wins to know that Art Taylor is a master of the short story format. So this collection that spans his entire career is a celebration of his accomplishments and needs to be part of every crime fiction book collection. The selections in the collection range from a 5-page flash fiction story to the 29-page novella light. It's a sort of a short novella, but it's longer than a short story. And then every conceivable length in between. So I like to say that during these times when concentration might be a challenge because of the pandemic, short stories are a great thing to read, and there's lots of great ones in this collection. The title story, I said in my review, is like stumbling upon a secret rendezvous at the corner of nostalgia and Americana. The adolescent hero, Cooper Hobbs, is a fan of Encyclopedia Brown, as both Dru and I were also. So when he discovers an ever-increasing quantity of bones in the neighborhood where he lives, he gathers together a group of his friends and they begin to investigate. But this is also the summer of '74, and Cooper is growing up. The merging of this innocent exploration of what could be a crime and Cooper's burgeoning maturity makes for a powerful mixture that art manages to just make beautiful. So it's a must read. It will be published in, or was recently published in, Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine as well, I believe, or maybe Alfred Hitchcock, I don't know, but one of those collections. All of Art Taylor's award-winning stories are also included in the book. Among them are favorites of mine like English 398, The Fiction Workshop, and The Care and Feeding of Houseplants, both of which were in Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine, as well as Parallel Play, his award-winning story from Chesapeake Crime Store Morning, which is the anthology put out by his and my Sisters in Crime chapter, the Chessie chapter. So look for that. It was published by Crippen and Landru, a great publisher, so check it out.
next book, another first in a series. And when you hear the title, it's like, yeah, you have to read this book. The name of the book is To Kill a Mockingjay by Harper Kincaid. How can you not want to read that book? You have to read that book. It's the first in a series. The name of the series is Bookbinding. And when I started reading the book, I knew that this would be a book that I would continue. It had again, here's that quirky cast of characters. It had a good, solid plot, and it had a heroine that I liked. She was really cool. But what I really loved was she had a Spitfire cousin who happens to be a nun. And the two of them played off of each other so well that it was really, really a really good book. And also what I like also about this book was the character had like internal dialogue going on. I like internal dialogues because you really get a sense of what's playing in the head of the character while she's going out there trying to be an amateur sleuth. So that was a really good book. That book is also published by Crooked Lane Books, and the author is right now working on the second book. And again, we don't know the title yet, and we don't know the release, but it will come out next year.
My next selection is Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier. Jennifer is an author who knows how to put her readers through an emotional ringer in the midst of an anxiety-fueled plot designed to both distract and to entertain. Her previous book, Jar of Hearts, was my favorite novel of 2018, and Little Secrets could possibly be even better. It's hard to say, but it's a great book. Maureen Machado is holiday shopping with her young son when, after a moment's distraction in the crowd, she discovers that he has vanished. Security footage later shows her that he's been led away by somebody dressed in a Santa Claus suit, so that's a very spooky beginning. But the book is not about her search for her son only. It also focuses on the stress of such a tragedy would put on a family and the individuals that were affected. Marin does hire a private investigator to help with the search, but when that woman uncovers Marin's husband's infidelity, Marin is not willing to go down without a fight. This becomes the central plot that fuels the novel, but believe me, answers to all the questions you have are included by the end of the book. I love so much about this novel, but one of the things that means so much in these times when we need more diversity in crime fiction is that Jennifer Hillier pushes back against the norm of having all the characters be assumed to be white by default. Without calling attention to it, she allows her varied canvas of cast to make themselves known and forces the reader to check their unintentional bias at the door. This book was published by Minotaur, and it's a really good one.
The next book that I'm going to talk about is, now I know the author, and I've been reading this series since day one, Double Trouble by Gretchen Archer. And this the ninth book in the series, and the name of the series is Davis Way Crime Caper. Davis Way is a really fun character. The littlest thing, for some reason, gets blown up, and what you're watching is this escapade happening, and you're watching it blow up, and then all of a sudden, Davis just gets into that momentum, and it becomes this frenetic pacing, and the next thing you know is she prevails. And that's what I like about this book. The author takes you on so many adventures. She keeps it light, she keeps it fresh, but she keeps you enthralled and involved in what is going on with the characters. And again, this is what I wrote because I just like it. It just says, with a few glitches here and there, nothing stops our intrepid heroine, even when faced with obstacles beyond her control, yet expect the unexpected. And that is published by Henry Press. Thank you for listening and hearing about my top favorite books in the first half of the year.
My final selection for the first half of the year is The Mist by Ragnar Jonassen. Now, The Mist is the third book in the Hidden Iceland series, and I do highly recommend that you read all of the books. What's special about this series and what makes it so inventive is that the series is told in reverse chronological order. So in the first book, The Darkness, the reader finds out things that Hulda, the main character, does not know in the subsequent books because they take place earlier. So we are in on things that she is just discovering, and this makes the reader an active participant in her investigation and makes it even more heartbreaking when some of the things happen because we know where things are going to end up in the end. There's two threads in this book. One involves a farming couple who have an unexpected visitor to their farm on the days leading up to Christmas and get snowed in a blizzard at the farm with them. And things don't go quite as well as anyone might have expected for a holiday season. But meanwhile, back in the city, Hulda is dealing with some stressful situations with her daughter that she doesn't quite understand. Again, these are things that the reader already knows what's going on, but Hulda does not. So as we watch her discover what's going on with her daughter, we go along for that ride, and eventually Hulda is sent out to the farmhouse in the isolated part of Iceland where she is forced to investigate this horrific crime that occurred there and also come to terms with the tragedy that is going on in her own life. I think the series is continuing. It's hard to know for sure, but it was definitely a trilogy set up, but I think there's more of Hulda to come. Her story there's a lot there, so I'm hoping we see her again. This book was published by Minotaur in June, so look for that one. Hey folks, that was our program for today. I promise you that we're getting better with each of these. And this was only our second, so come back for our third.
And please don't forget to subscribe at the button down below to be on the know.
To be knowing when we have new content coming out. So we really enjoyed this. We hope you enjoy seeing us. We hope you enjoy hearing about the books. Please go out, buy the books, buy them at your independent bookstores. Libraries, wherever you normally get your books. And remember that you can still find our blog content. I'm at www.bolobooks.com. And Dru?
And I'm at drewsbookmusing.com.
So find us there in between these sessions, and we'll be back again with another video in some short amount of time. See you then.
Bye, guys.